Um, if I'm gonna do a
We are live. Okay.
oh, you see that already?
Says live. Says live on Facebook. So I am going to. I don't know who might be joining us a few minutes early, but let me. I'm just going to reload our page.
See, we're getting the hang of this.
There we go. All right. So now let me try this. Share now. Hey, there's Donna. Okay. All right. Shared to my timeline. So
You know what's weird? I don't see. I don't just don't see the share thing. I'm gonna.
yeah, there's a share.
Oh, there it is. It's on top. Okay.
All right. So it's definitely on my timeline,
And mine, and we're on timeout.
and we're on.
I had someone say to me, I won't say who, I had someone say to me that they start watching and then they see us talking about how we're trying to get the page up and running, and then they get bored and leave.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
See ya. Here we are.
Shall we change the title of the show to, getting things, trying to get things ready with Eric Cohen and Nancy? Um,
Are-
all right. So we are live. We could start chatting.
There we
But
go.
let's wait for the room to populate a little bit. I don't want to we could just be talking to ourselves.
Donna's.
Oh,
It's all right. Donna's here.
yeah. But I don't think Donna didn't make a comment in the chat room, I believe. Did you, Donna? I don't know.
She is. She goes, I'm not leaving, LOL.
Oh, she is? Why?
Yeah.
Why am I not seeing anything in the chat just yet? I saw Donna comment on. Oh yeah, there it is.
You all set?
Hey, Donna. Yeah. Well, I'm seeing Donna making comments in the comment section on Facebook. I don't know why I wasn't seeing it on. Um, yeah. Right now, I see nothing. Donna, can you type something into the chat box?
Both people, two people that are on are from
Mhm.
Buffalo.
Okay.
Who was that?
Really? We got two Buffalo people on?
You don't have it open so that you can see the chat box. You got
Yeah, well, I just have our live feed open where I can. Hang on, let me try this. We're probably losing people now.
no we are.
Um, oh,
So
yeah. Well, I
there
have.
you go. You have to just turn that volume. There you go. You're all set now.
Oh, so that's right. I only see the chat box on the delayed feed. I got it.
Well, that's okay. So, what have you been doing, Eric? Did you shave today?
Can't you? Yeah. Can't you tell? If you had seen me, did you shave?
No.
No. Okay. Um. Yeah.
Do I need to?
I should no. I wasn't talking about your face. I just
Oh, that's an interesting subject.
we're
Because
gonna
there's a
start off.
lot of things. There's a lot of things that we sort of don't keep up with because we don't go anywhere. And I think shaving your legs, I think is one of them. To be perfectly honest, like
Never done it. Never shaved my. I've never shaved my legs. Never like waxed my chest hair. I'll admit I got some hair on the chest. My back's pretty clean. So, but these are the things that our audience wants to know. Does Eric have what sort of body hair does Eric have? So, um, let's mention right off the bat who our guest is today. He'll be joining us at about 7:15. Um, Tremendous musician, educator, composer, band leader, Mr. Ron Wilkins. who's Texas born. No, excuse me. He was actually born in Germany. I just discovered that before the show, but he was raised in San Antonio, lives in New York now, and has been in Syracuse on 2 occasions that I know of. They were both events affiliated with CNY Jazz, and they were both with he and Ronnie Lee teamed up. And the second one, you and I were both at.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
you.
That's how I met him. I can't wait for it, but he's going to sing. He said he would sing a little and play a little.
Oh, see, now that's news to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That is yeah, that is definitely news to me. I did not know that we were going to get his talents.
Donna, we were talking about shaving, and my friend Donna said she's going to look like a bear when this is all over.
Did she say that? We will. Oh yeah, we will look like a bear when this is over. That's come on. That's weird though. Normally, all right. Wait a minute. I gotta. You know what I'm gonna do. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna. I know what I did the last time. Is I'm gonna bring up the chat on my. While I do that, tell us how your 4th of July weekend was.
Oh, I wish well, everybody saw my pictures. Yeah, we
Well, yeah, but tell us
well,
how
I
much
mean,
you ate.
we took the
Tell
bold
us.
move of getting together. My daughter's been quarantined. I mean, they've been taking all the same precautions that I'm taking. You know, I don't go out. I go to the store and I mask up and I all the sanitizer and all the stuff and the same precautions that I'm taking.
Oops.
You know, that's all right. You can get that fixed. I don't go out. I go to the store and I mask. Bernadine.
Sorry
So
about that.
yeah, so I mean, we've been essentially, taking really good care, and we've been very encouraged with the numbers in New York State. So we thought we would take a chance, and we all
Yeah.
met out. We met outside. We stayed
I know.
outside, and and then my grandson and I went across the street to watch the. We don't have fireworks. My sister.
Oh, but you have like a ring of fire.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Everybody gets a flare. Everybody that lives on the bay gets a flare, and they have to put them. I don't know. They're like 4 or 5 feet apart, so it looks like this. It's absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful.
No, it definitely looked beautiful. And I told you on the phone. I love that picture of that little girl dressed as a princess. With the fire behind her, it was just
It's beautiful.
yeah, it really was. And again, it just looked like you had it was nice to. Obviously, it's great to see family.
Yeah, it was
And
really good. It was really good, and we enjoyed it. And my sister and everybody came over for a little while, and then they went home. And
the only thing I was giving you, some crap about is that you didn't post a picture of mother and daughter.
we didn't take one. We usually rely on someone else to do that because the two of us are always fussing around.
How is since people might remember that your beautiful daughter Kelly joined us for what was our second show. This is now, believe it or not, our 10th show. Kelly's doing well, and Graham's doing well. Your grandson.
Everybody's good. I think it's with the kids. He's still taking his piano lessons and all that stuff. But I think the kids are the ones that are really struggling through this more than us. I think it's very difficult for them.
Well, and I mean, I just can't imagine being a parent right now, especially of a child of grade. I mean, I don't know what grade is he going into?
I think he's. Oh, don't ask me. I'm horrible.
Well, but I mean, okay.
I mean, he's 13. I don't know. I think he's going into 8th grade next year. I think.
I mean, so whether you're going
correct me.
Whether you're going into 2nd grade, 4th grade, 8th grade, I mean, right now, as we do this show, July 12th, I mean, honestly, it's a tough spot if you're a parent. of a child not really knowing what's going to be happening with schools. I mean, like how I don't know how you I don't know how you would feel right now if your child was going into junior high or high school or even going back to college. It's it's a very unique situation, and not only students, but not only the kids, but teachers as well. I mean, just a lot
And
of
and to top it off, I just found out two more outside events that I was planning on singing at have been canceled. I'm not at liberty to say what they are yet because they haven't been made public. But
oh,
it's like it's so sad. I mean, it's really sad. People are getting together. You see it on Facebook. You see people performing, but it's mostly outside. I had a gig in Buffalo. Was last week. And that was canceled because it was indoors. I mean, I don't know whether the guys did it or not, but it would be impossible for me to sing with a mask on. I couldn't do that. So,
you could sing "The Masquerade is Over."
oh,
Sorry, I know I know. But it's I don't know. I mean, we were, and again, we don't want this show to devolve or get into too many politics, but I mean, there were states that were we were starting to head in the right direction collectively.
we'll talk about that with.
As
I'm quite sure that
well,
Ron's,
certainly,
Ron's going to want to talk about it openly. He did an interview on CNN, so I'm sure he's not going to feel bad about
yeah.
talking
I mean, we should
about it.
I mean, I mentioned to our audience, and I want to thank my buddy Dave Casper, who's joined us, and Donna and Bernadine. Who it's nice to know that Bernadine does shave her legs every day. Thank you for sharing, Bernadine. Um, I don't think Dave Casper does, right, Dave? No. But we no, I mean when you mentioned to me a few weeks back, hey, you know Ron Wilkins? I said, yeah, I remember when Ron was in Syracuse, and then you had mentioned that he was on CNN because Ron is a COVID-19 survivor, and I've since watched the interview, and it was just a fascinating interview, and I know that he'll get as in depth as he would like to get into, but I mean, we're just so thankful that Ron is still with us because I mean, listen, you hear about people who have mild cases of this virus and they're asymptomatic. Well, we'll let Ron tell you this was not a mild case of the virus. I mean, this was serious, and Ron actually dealt with this actually in his home state, even though he lives in New York, but he dealt with it in Texas, and we're gonna certainly talk a little bit about that with him. But his musical resume, as you know, Nancy, is second to none. I mean, Ron is.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of great reasons I wanted to have Ron on. I was very, very impressed with him when I heard him and met him,
Yeah,
and then I sat in with him, and so not only is he a master musician, he's a fine human being. He's a great.
that's the impression that I got. I just lost. There we go. Well, now we're on top of one another. That's weird. How did I do that?
I have no idea.
I mean, I'm still seeing you, but now we're not side by side. You're on top of me
Well,
now.
let's see because Ron's ready to come in. Do you want to welcome into the room?
No, I'd rather keep Ron waiting. Actually, no, no. If he's ready, please, by all means, let's just give him entry, please.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ron Wilkins connecting to audio, and we will have Ron. Oh yeah, now we are side by side, and Ron, I see. Okay.
oh, we ain't got a barrel of money.
He-
You You made my day yesterday, man. When I was singing a thing and you were smiling. I didn't know if you know you had this big smile on your face, and it just made my day.
Would have been weird if I was like, just like.
Yeah, that's okay. Not that I haven't seen that before. Oh, bless you.
Excuse me.
That's it. That's it. You're in trouble. Oh no, you have
I'm
allergies.
fine. I'm okay. Relax, folks. I'm okay. It's not allergies. But yeah, I did get to hear you sing yesterday. Looks like we're gonna have Ron here momentarily. But you do that every single show. I feel like you sing a verse, a lyric to a song. You kind of tease people. Eventually, Nancy, we won't tell people when. You're going to sing a full song.
I'm thinking about it. I've been fussing with trying to figure out how to get the audio right. There's Ron. Welcome, Ron. Oh,
Hi, guys.
oh, it's so good of you. So great. Yay.
Mr. Ron Wilkins is joining us
Yay.
from his. Wow, that's quite the setup you got there, Ron.
Yeah, thank you. I'm actually staying here in Austin, Texas at my friend Michael's house, and he's got a lovely place here. So I feel very, very at ease and with about maybe 20 times more space than I had in my New York apartment.
Yeah, well, that's easy to do just about anywhere the minute you get 10 minutes out of the city, right?
No kidding. No kidding.
You know why he has 20 times more space, Nance? Everything is bigger in Texas.
Oh,
Very good.
I mean,
Look
come
at
on.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
Eric.
you're in Texas right now, Ron?
I am here and moved to Austin, Texas after I went through my bout with COVID.
Right.
And just before that, I was contracted to play the musical show Aladdin, the Broadway touring musical, back in March.
What a nice gig, man.
Yeah, very much so. The only drag was that because of COVID, instead of the 2-week run, we had 2 days.
Oh man.
So you went through a period of looking over the material and becoming familiar with it, and then you just had 2 days, and that's such a lot of work to go through and such a disappointment.
Yeah, it really is and was. But to be honest with you, we're pros. We do this stuff. So, I mean, I even made sure to check in with the guys on the Broadway pit for Aladdin and sat in and got to make sure that I was going to be comfortable with the tour. And, it's no problem. We were having a great time of it. But once again, this virus has just taken a lot of our livelihoods as musicians away. It's been horrible.
I mean, my dad, Ron, who fortunately we were able to have as a guest on the show 3 weeks back, is a New York-based musician himself. He doesn't play much anymore, plays piano, but knows a lot of musicians who are pit musicians on Broadway, and their livelihood has completely changed. And obviously Broadway initially said they were going to be dark until September, and now we know that Broadway is going to be dark until at least January. So
Yeah.
I heard some great news today, though. I just read it on Facebook. I read that today was the first day that New York City didn't have any new cases of
Thank
COVID.
goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Because at the time I left, New York was the epicenter. And I figured I was going to get away in Texas and play this show, and
Right.
I'd be away from all that. But I ended up getting the COVID in San Antonio while I was hanging out at my mom's house. So go figure.
Well, I want to talk about all that if you don't mind.
Not at all.
You're free to talk at any depth you want to about it when
Okay.
we understand how you feel. So,
Yeah.
but I kind of wanted people first to get to know you a little bit and know how that you and I became friends and met each other and jammed a little bit,
Jammed a little bit. Oh, Nancy, the first time I got to meet you and such was when I was up there in Syracuse playing this little music fest up there with your friend and mine, the lovely and talented Ronnie Lee.
yes.
He is a hero here indeed.
He's a bad man and another brother from another mother, as far as
Yeah,
I'm
you're right.
concerned.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I got to work with him, and Eric, I got to meet you the time before when I was up there, and then this last time. But to get to work with you, Nancy, that first time, and to really hear you, and then just to go ahead and research about what a beast you are.
I love being a beast.
You're a beastie. You're a
He is.
beastie.
He's a sexy beast. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
No one calls me a beast. I like that.
You're such a beastie. You are.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was talking to somebody today, and I'm not young anymore. I'm very grateful to be here and still being able to do my craft. But boy, I had a lot more energy when I was your age. Well, I don't know how old you are. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate that, but I have a feeling that we're not very far in age at all. I'm going to be 62 this year.
Ooh, I'm older than you, my love.
Oh, okay.
It's just
That's
a
all right.
number.
So you were born
Yeah,
in Germany.
thanks, Eric.
So Eric goes, Eric goes, I bet Ron doesn't remember being born in Germany.
No, I don't. I absolutely don't.
So you never stayed, they brought you home when you were just a
Yeah.
little fella.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was Army, and so basically about a year and a half before I was born, my older brother was born there in Germany, in Frankfurt. And then Dad got transferred to Stuttgart, where I was born. And then literally just about a year and a half later, my younger brother, Anthony, was born in San Antonio, Texas.
Wow. How many siblings do you have?
I have two, an older brother, Gerald, and the younger brother, Anthony. I also have a half brother who was from my dad's first marriage. That's James Jr. He's out in California. And then my cousin, Sam, who my family ended up adopting. So he's pretty much a younger brother.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Sam's great. He's actually living outside of Houston, Texas, or for you guys up in New York, Houston.
Oh no, we wouldn't say that.
We call it Houston, but I know that there's a Houston in Manhattan. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a Houston Street, and
yeah.
it kind of messed me up for a minute because I had a gig over there at this place off of Houston, and I'm going, oh, Houston. They're going, what's Houston?
Right?
Oh,
I know it. So it was a whole house full of boys, and how did your mother handle all that? That was a lot.
Like a professional. Like a true pro.
We
couldn't, I mean, my mom was a career educator, and my dad, of course, being having been a staff sergeant in the Army, discipline was at a high level. So it's one of the things that I attribute to the fact that I am the way I am because of being raised in a, at times, very strict Christian household, but other times still being able to go ahead and have the opportunity to grow up and just appreciate life. So, I mean, it was good, but mom didn't, as we like to say, mom didn't play. If you screwed up, you heard about it. And, dad was like, spare the rod, spoil the child. Well, I ain't sparing no rod.
I said something funny to my daughter or my grandson the other day because my daughter and her husband don't believe in any kind of physical, they don't strike their child.
Kind of punishment, yeah.
Yeah, and I said to him the other day, I says, you better watch out. I'm from a different era, boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I pop you one.
Say, yeah, no kidding. I've after all these years too, for me of growing up and then going ahead and doing the teaching and everything, I came to find that there are ways to be able to go ahead and work with young people and kids to be able to get the point across. I think music has been the biggest tool that I could have ever used, and probably the greatest blessing that I have in my life. Just because if somebody's not quite getting it and such, you can always use music to help them understand.
It's very true.
Use that as an avenue.
Very true. Go ahead, Eric. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, I just loved what Ron has written on his website. I want to give that a plug, ronwilkins.net. And right at the homepage is such a great quote. It says, "I believe in the power of music as a force for healing, enjoyment, and entertainment. It unites mind, heart, spirit, and body. Music breaks all barriers, surpasses spoken language, and brings people together." And I think that's truly sums it up. And especially now in a time where, sadly, there's so much division in this country.
Yeah, that's a big sigh. I hear you.
And obviously we can't have music festivals right now, but music does have a way of uniting people. And I frankly wish we were more united right now, but music is a universal language, I think.
It is indeed. And I think that's one of the keys to us being able to go ahead and help promote healing. throughout this country, because unfortunately, with the way things are going, everything, including this virus, which is life-threatening, has become politicized.
Oh,
And what it comes down to is that it's not about politics. It's not about which side of the aisle you're on. It's not about whether you're a red state or a blue state. This thing can take you out anytime. And
yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yep.
it just we just have to come together and understand. I mean, I'm down here in Texas, and the cases here are exploding. Maybe not as much in Florida, but they are exploding. And
Oh.
even when I was coming out of the hospital and I was talking to some of the dearest people, like the nurses, the therapists that I was working with, and of course the doctors, I was saying to them, it's like, guys, you have nothing but my greatest respect, but I feel for you, because
Oh.
this is not going to get better. You're going to be overwhelmed by this. And
No.
they all agreed to a point, but what it comes down to, once again, if I could convey this to any person out there listening, I know you guys know this as well, social distancing, staying safe and staying indoors. When you go out, wear a mask. All these things are so important to just slow the tide of this virus. I mean, we're already hearing about how our legislatures, state and national, are saying, "Oh, let's open schools again because the kids need to learn."
But I don't think people. Do you think anyone? They're not going to listen. We're getting to a point where we don't even pay attention. It's like some sort of hot breeze going on that we just let blow by. I mean,
Right.
it's just ridiculous.
Well, it is, and honestly, what it comes down to is that we just need to have better leadership. We
Well, I
do.
think the
We need to
states.
have-
I think that Cuomo did a great job in New York. He took the reins, and he was a strong leader.
Yeah.
And I don't care who likes him or not. He did the same thing that Giuliani did after 9/11.
Right.
Sure.
A lot of people didn't like him, but he took the reins.
He did.
And that's what we needed. We have no one doing that. We have someone telling us there's no problem.
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue at all, because when you get into this whole thing about denying what's right in front of your face, then eventually it's going to bite you in the face.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I saw this picture of our illustrious, our fearless leader finally wearing a mask, and it's like, wow, too little, too late, Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This thing has gone around the world right now, and whether you're thinking that you're immune to it or whether you think it's your constitutional right not to wear a mask, I mean, you've got your opinion on that, and I get to a point what that's about, but I don't get it just because after having been through it myself and almost died, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't understand people. I can understand the belief system, but when it crosses the line of not having regard for others,
Yeah.
it is not good. You have to rethink that. You've got to rethink that.
Of course, excuse me. Well, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I've said this in countless interviews now, and it's been really amazing to have all these interviews. It's been nuts. It's like, oh, you're the miracle guy. Oh, you survived. It's like, but I mean, okay, fine, whatever you want to call me in that sense, that's all well and good. But the thing is that I'm one of the lucky ones. I am, and there's a lot of people that this won't affect as terribly as it did me. But then there's well over 135,000 people who are dead from this thing.
Yeah.
And that's
and sadly that number is
And they didn't have to be. And we knew about this in January, and it was ignored.
Yeah.
By our government.
Oh yeah, very much
by
so.
a particular person. And we knew about it. We could have changed it. I was going to show you I will at some point. I've got a picture of a map that was so interesting that I saw just a minute ago. Mm-hmm. But well, I guess I'll find it and put it up if I can.
Yeah. But I'm sure, again, I think it's safe to say that Ron, if he had to do it over, he would not want to be known by more people because of all these interviews, because you'd like to just be a regular, working musician doing your thing in New York, and now it's like we've seen, I know you were on CNN and you've done other interviews. You're doing our show, but in retrospect, you'd like to be kind of going incognito, and have less people know who Ron Wilkins is.
Well, at least in that sense, I'd rather have more people know who Ron Wilkins is as the musician, as the educator, as the artist, instead of Ron Wilkins. He survived COVID.
Well, we're certainly going to find out more about that. There's no question. I mean, we're jazz people here. You're in a jazz room, so You
And
know.
believe me, I've been waiting for this moment, Nancy.
Oh,
Darling.
I'm so excited. I want to
Darling.
show you. This is an interesting picture, though, that I just saw. Um, this shows where Americans cannot leave the country. There is nowhere. If you have a passport, there is nowhere that you can go now
No, at this point,
because
and that
of what
without
we've
being
done. Because
quarantined
of
or even, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing? Look at that. Think of
that's
that.
frightening.
Oh.
That's absolutely frightening. Why are we, quote, the most powerful and industrious country on the face of the earth going through this? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how powerful you are and how industrious you are if you don't have the right leadership to go ahead and work to help the people to be able to stem the tide of probably one of the more deadly viruses that we've had since the Spanish flu in 1918, 1919. Then what did you expect? We're going to get this kind of issue. We're going to have this kind of results. And to me, that's just horribly tragic, especially being one, and I know that you can relate as well across this, both Eric and Nancy, having done travel to Europe, having done gigs over there, or having done concerts and
I
stuff.
was planning a Europe. We had a European tour we were putting together.
I had a North American tour that I was working with this group called Swing 2020, and then we're going to go out to West Coast. And one of the guys who's been over in Paris now, he's been working with swing musicians over there, and they're just getting concerts back. But they've done more of the efforts throughout France and Europe to stem and slow this virus.
Well, we have such a lot. There's so it's so about the fact of the way Americans are at the very base of their culture, and where this whole freedom thing gets taken to a point of personally, offending other people. It's unbelievable, whereas the other countries group together, a lot of them, and said, no, we've just simply got to handle this. But Americans are, well, for lack of a better word, they're pig-headed. They really are.
We tend to take our freedoms to the point for granted.
Yeah, indeed.
And actually then coming down to saying something as if, wearing a mask and keeping other people safe is against your constitutional right, or I have this health condition where I can't wear a mask. To me, it's all BS. It's all BS, because what it comes down to is that if it's not for you, then it's for someone else who you might be close to, or even if you're not close to them. Wouldn't you rather go ahead and be safe and healthy and make sure the people around you that you love are healthy, instead of like causing uncle, aunt, child, grandparent to get sick and possibly die from this? To me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's about being, using and utilizing common sense, intellect, and not just relying on the politicians, but more so around the scientific facts behind this virus.
Right.
Knowing more as we learn about how this thing works, how it spreads, and what we can already do in terms of not having to go ahead and spread it. I mean, quick sidebar, I was watching the Today Show about 5 weeks ago, and I was still in the hospital, but I was recovering very well. And I had told the doctors and nurses there, it's like, I saw this thing on the Today Show. And basically the correspondent came on and she said, I went to this lab and they had 4 Petri dishes there for me. I coughed into one Petri dish without a mask. The other 3, I used 3 different types of mask. I had a cloth mask, I had a surgical mask, and I had the NS95 mask. After 24 hours, you could see bacteria forming on the Petri dish without the mask that she coughed into. The other 3, no signs of bacteria.
Well, isn't that good news?
Yeah, well, 60 hours later, they went back to check on the results again. The Petri dish that she had coughed into without the mask was covered in spores and bacteria. The other 3, nothing.
Isn't that good news?
Nothing.
Wow.
So, I mean, even if people are saying, well, I don't know if this mask thing really works or not, it does. There is scientific proof that it actually works, and it helps to stem the spread of the virus.
I
If
know.
you're going to go out, wear a mask.
It's so hard though, because we have so many people who no matter what you do and how much you talk are not going to take the side of science. And this is an educational thing that we have to face in this country, and it's difficult.
And what's sad too is that we are not hearing enough from the experts anymore.
No.
And sadly, our leadership in this country, without naming names, but we all know who we're speaking of, that they are essentially ignoring science, and they are not letting the experts speak. I've heard cases where they've been denied permission to do interviews on television. So
I've heard those too.
we're not hearing again. We're not hearing from obviously Dr. Fauci like we used to hear from him, and
Sure.
and unfortunately, and this is really sad, is sometimes when you do hear from the experts, sometimes they're saying things to almost kind of go along with the president because they're in fear, like, well, I better not say the wrong thing.
Oh boy, if you disagree, you get fired quick.
Which is sad because science is fact. Unfortunately, our leadership is believing in fiction, and scientists and experts should be able to express themselves as freely as they want to be able to express themselves without wondering, well, geez, if the administration doesn't like what I say here, my job might be in jeopardy, and it's a sad state of affairs that we're in.
Well, I think that a point to be made here, though, is those of us that read and are educated and are interested we're doing what we can. This is why we have Ron Wilkins on the show today.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
That's why you're here. Hello, lovey.
Hello.
Um,
Good golly, Miss Molly. Yeah, listen, I'm glad to be here. If nothing else, just to go ahead and convey the point. But Nancy, you had messaged me earlier as well if I felt like even singing or playing and such. I'm doing all of the above these days.
Well, I want to ask you about all that.
My chops are back on, not as solidly yet, but I'm getting it together. And since I've also been back here in Texas, I just received a teaching job.
I read that. Congratulations. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, the place where I got my master's degree, Texas State University, which has an
They
outstanding
have a great music program, man. They have a
They
great.
do.
It's on my list. I have a list of colleges that I give my singers because
Uh-huh.
they're also unaware. They don't realize that there are only certain schools that teach popular voice or jazz.
Yeah.
So Texas is one of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did my undergrad years ago at the University of North Texas, or back then North Texas State. And that was the first school in the country to offer a degree in jazz studies.
Really,
Eventually
that I
jazz
didn't know.
education, 1950. It was
Yeah.
started by a gentleman named Professor Gene Hall. And I mean, that program has grown into a monster.
I have a lot of singers that come to me because they find themselves in a school. Like I've got one lined up now. She's at Fredonia, and she's getting a classical a vocal program, and she's come to me hoping to pick up some stuff.
Sure.
that they don't teach in those schools. So I enjoy it very much. I have an adjunct position at a college up here but I don't run the class. I much prefer teaching privately. I really do like it.
Sure.
I really do like it.
I must say, when I was in radio and did radio for 25 years, whenever I got a recording from the UNT 1 o'clock lab band or the 2 o'clock lab band, I'm going to tell you, those bands, if people have never heard these bands, go online. I'm sure you can listen to some of their recordings. But the University of North Texas, Texas State, I mean, they are first class, and their arrangements and their the musicians that have come out of that program are just remarkable. And I always loved playing their music.
Well, I'm living proof of one of them, but there's a ton of guys too. I mean, who have come through a place like North Texas or Texas State or the University of Texas at Austin, among others, that have gotten jazz training. And the one thing that helped me out in particular, especially once I finally got to New York, was the level of training and plus the level of competition that I had to go through at a place like North Texas. I mean, when I walked in there as a jazz education major with an emphasis on trombone, there were already around 100 other trombone players
Really?
taking classes at that school.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, now I know what it feels like to be a small fish in the ocean. But the best part about it was that being able to be around all of these players and all these people and getting all these influences just kind of helped me years later to set me up for going to a place like New York, where, you literally hear the best of the best. And I was able to not only hang with the best of the best, but also be recognized as one of the better ones, just because Not only it wasn't about the chops and the ability and the talent. Sure, that's important. It's good, taken to a forefront. But more so, the fact is that I wasn't a jerk, and I've always been happy to that point when I was raised to be able to have an even temperament and to appreciate people, and to be able to be one who is willing to help. So, I mean, to me, that was the most important thing. You can have all the chops in the world, but if you're an a-hole, you're an a-hole.
Yeah, I think that your bringing up and the wonderful life that you lived through is a testament to you're a tremendous musician, Ron. When I met
Thank
you, I
you.
said, "Wow."
Yeah,
This
know
is
the feeling, Nancy.
Oh, but you know what I loved about you most is
What's
just
that?
that you're a great freaking guy, man. You're just a
Thank
great
you.
guy.
You
I-
know, I was not raised by a pack of wolves.
Yeah. That's why
That's
we hit it off. Nor was
that's
I.
that's
But
it.
I didn't have the strict. I had strict training
Yeah.
musically. My piano teacher was a Juilliard graduate. She was strict. I mean, I couldn't even wear slacks to my lesson. This was strict.
Wow.
Of
I
course,
hear you.
it was strict, and I'm very grateful for it, man. My classical piano training I really regard it as part of why I am who I am today. There's no
Sure.
question, But I didn't go on to music college. That is a regret in my life because I had a little girl. I had a little
Yeah.
baby girl. And
Oh.
so we stayed home and I gigged around and stayed close to family and all that stuff. So, but I want to talk about you when you got started. So you went to school. Were you
Yeah.
playing as a child? Were you like dabbling in music or
Oh
how did?
gosh, yes. It's like I growing up in the church. Once again, by age 3, I was already doing some singing and such. By age 5, I was singing solos with the church choir.
Oh boy.
Uh, Continued from there on to getting into middle school. One of the cool things just before I got into middle school, though, was that a few years ahead of that, my father bought my younger brother and I this reel-to-reel tape deck.
Yay.
And we used to go ahead and use that. We put like 8D batteries in it. It was just this big wonky TIAC, Radio Shack kind of thing. But it was cool because we would sit there and plug in the mic to it, and we'd be in the back seat of the car just singing. And we'd come up with all these little crazy ideas and songs, but we could hear ourselves sing harmony, and then we play it back and just get the biggest kick out of it. So, and then later on, we got the little toy instruments, like I had a toy guitar, toy drums, and all this. And I figured I was going to be the world's greatest drummer.
Huh.
That was going to be my calling. But then when I got in the middle school band, my band director played a trick on me. Because for one, he told me this years later, for one, he already had like a gazillion kids who wanted to play drums, and he already had the spots filled up, but he needed low brass players. So when I came in with my bad self saying, I'm going to be the greatest drummer in the world, he's like, okay, do this. And still to this day, I have some trouble doing it, but he gave me this rhythm test. Tap a whole note at quarter note equals 80, tap a whole note on your right foot, a half note on your left foot, quarter notes on your right hand, and eighth notes
Oh,
on your left.
forget it. I'm already
Exactly.
picturing this. I'm like, forget it. Come on.
No, I'm 10 years old. And I'm like, how's that? It's like, no. But maybe we can try you on a trombone. And I'm like,
I know some cats that could do that though.
Well, I mean, I've got wonderful friends who are some of the best rhythmic musicians ever. And even them, I was telling them the story, and they're sitting there going, dude, I can't even pull that off. I'd have to sit and practice for about a week just to make sure I could get that coordination together. Of course,
Yep,
you got
your playing is very rhythmic though. So this is
yeah.
in your makeup for sure.
It's part
Now-
of my DNA.
Yeah,
Part of it just growing up and doing all that. But the other side of it too was as a kid, my father was an avid fan of great jazz artists.
Like?
In particular.
Who'd you hear in the house?
Oh gosh, Nat King Cole,
Yeah.
Duke Ellington,
Oh.
Count Basie, the great jazz tenor saxophonist G.M. Ammons, and my dad's main man on the organ, Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, baby, that's who I listen to. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
You know that Eric has a
Guy.
tell him about your show that you
Yeah,
do.
I don't think I got a chance when we was again. Ron and I only met on one. I know you performed in Syracuse twice. We met on the second occasion where
Right.
Nancy was at the hotel, and immediately we made a great connection, but I never got a chance to tell you that for about 22 2 of the 25 years I was on radio, I hosted a Friday afternoon show called the B3 Bonanza,
Oh
where
my.
I just devoted an entire hour, which eventually expanded to 2 hours towards the end of my time there, where I played nothing but organ music from, obviously, Jimmy. In fact, Jimmy Smith was the one artist that I made sure I played every week.
Oh yeah.
Every week, people were guaranteed they'd hear a Jimmy Smith song, but I would play, you'd hear Groove Holmes, you'd hear Jimmy McGriff, you'd hear Charles Erlin, Shirley Scott.
I played.
Yes.
I think all those guys came through my club in Philly. Surely,
gosh.
all of them, man. I was. Oh my
Joey
god.
Nancy, and Joey DiFrancesco. Larry Young. I mean, the list goes on, and it was. I have people that still come up to me this day and say, "Yeah, we miss you on the radio, but we really miss that B3 Bonanza because it was a way to kind of end the week on something. There's something about organ music, whether it was that '60s organ sound, that organ trio sound where you had maybe Grant Green on guitar and or whether it was some of the modern day organists like Joey or Tony Monaco, and there's some wonderful cats out there that are keeping the B3 alive and well. But it was just something about the music that made people feel good. It brought them back to church in some respects.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Jimmy Smith.
Yes. Well, the B3 is a rhythm instrument, man.
Very much so.
Rhythm.
Very much so. There's so much groove involved in it. In fact, there's a guy down here in Austin who also does a lot of work for years out in LA named Red Young. I don't know if you know about Red, but Red is one of the most killing B3 players. In fact, one of the
is he a hidden beast like me?
Okay, yeah. Sure. I don't know if you're that much hidden now, Nancy.
He's not hidden, trust me.
No.
I just look for a chance to laugh, that's all.
I appreciate it. Me too.
Yeah.
But Red is another one of these cats. There's another guy who I grew up with at North Texas named Eric Scorza.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know that? It sounds somewhat familiar to me, but
Eric the Scorcha.
Yeah, baby. Scorch is a bad cat. We used to do gigs together down in Texas. He'd be rolling up with a van and go ahead and pull the slats out and everything from the side and roll that B3 out.
those guys used to amaze me, man.
With the Leslie, yeah. I mean, jeez.
I mean, I'm such a fan of the organ, but I'll tell you what, I'm amazed because I have gotten a chance to see concerts live. In fact, there's an event that happens here every year where they have some local artists who all can play the B3, and I sometimes I'm right up near the stage, but I might be emceeing the event, and I say to myself, man, I could never in a million years, because there's so many different gadgets on a B3, and I say, how the heck?
It's a life study. It's like
It really
anything
is.
else. It's a life study, and it's not something you plug into. You have to the guys that really do it, like Joey, you'd get a kick out of this, Ron.
Please.
I spent my real heavy learning lesson years living in Philly. And of course, I didn't realize it, but I was in the middle of a B3 explosion down there. I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Like all those cats were coming through, man. But Joey D used to come into the club. He was 12 years old.
Wow.
And he used to get up on the bandstand and blow everyone. Of course, it was a black jazz club, and I was the house singer.
Nice.
5 years, man.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's where I got I learned from the musicians who created the music.
Oh, baby, you were right in the middle of the chicken shack on that one.
I'm telling
Roots. Serious roots.
I'm telling you. Your feet stuck to the rug, man. You dig what I'm saying?
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Cats would be sitting at the bar with Miller on with ice. I loved it. It was great, man.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, little Joey D, 12 years old. But he started at that young age. I mean, he knows that instrument.
Oh, yeah,
he really
absolutely.
knows that.
And like you mentioned earlier as well, and Eric, I know you can attest to this as well too. It really is a course of study to be able to play the B3 and to have a level of facility on it to where you can not only work all the different pedals, but also the different pulleys.
Yeah.
Sliders, are they called sliders or what? No, anyway,
Nah, I don't remember. That's what I get for not having hung out more often. But I did get to do a couple of gigs with Richard the Groove Holmes.
Oh yeah.
Got to play with the groove.
Got to play
And
with
I went back home. I remember this because I was in San Antonio, and I went back home afterwards, and I went to visit my dad at the house and said, "Hey, Pops, I sat in with Richard Groove Holmes." He's like, "That's pretty good, but you didn't play with Jimmy Smith yet."
Oh, poor
And
Ron.
I'm like,
Poor Ron. He's like crestfallen now.
well, it's like, I mean, I have these discussions with him off and on. It's like, Dad was all into Gene Ammons, the judge, the great tenor player.
Great Texas tenor.
Gene Ammons is, in my
yeah.
opinion, who really, really influenced it. I mean, when you hear Houston person, you're hearing Gene Ammons. Man.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no
Absolutely.
question.
I mean, I've been listening to him along with Eddie Lockjaw Davis for years, courtesy of my pops. And but then I came home one day, I was in this Coltrane kick, so I put on some Coltrane for Dad. I figured I'd try and take it easy and not pull out like Ascension or any of these other more avant-garde albums. I brought in Giant Steps and played Cousin Mary for him. And my dad, for lack of a better term, my dad's quote was, "Don't play none of that Chinese water music for me. There's a blues. There's a soul." And I'm like, "Pops, he's playing a blues,
Yeah, but that's so it's in there, but you don't hear it until you. I can remember I can remember it took me a while. I mean, I certainly couldn't approach Parker. I mean, I can remember kind of getting Coleman Hawkins, and then I could, it took me a while. I can remember hearing Thelonious Monk and going, "No, man, I don't." It was like I couldn't get it. I just you have to. It's like you sort of got to learn this, and then you see that, and then you learn this, and then you see that. Sure. And now I get it, but I understand. But the blues, the blues is the heart of jazz. I mean, it's the heart of jazz.
You can't have jazz without the blues. That's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's so essential considering that the blues actually came first. But I mean. I'm sitting back the other day and I'm checking out Facebook, and they had this thing on called the West End Blues Challenge, where all these trumpet players or other musicians had to come on and play Louis Armstrong's opening cadenza at the start of West End Blues. And it's like, okay, that's fine. And all that stuff. That's tremendous facility and such, especially for a cat at that time who was doing that and no one else could. But when you get past that and then you get into the tune itself, that daddy, daddy, and it's got that slow groove to it. Yeah. I mean, that's just digging into the roots of it.
Yeah, I could stay in a medium swing for the rest of my life and be happy. I hear what you're saying. I really do. I really do. But so you picked up the trombone, and that's school. A heck of a hard. And not only that, it's a bass trombone you play, or
well, I play a bass trombone, but I also play tenor and alto trombone as well.
How many instruments do you play, Ron Wilkins?
Oh my gosh, one at a time.
There, great. That's the right answer.
That's it. Yeah, one at a time.
I made sure when we promoted the show, I said. I didn't just say trombonist Ron Wilkins, because I know that you play more than just the trombone. Obviously, your vocal talents speak for themselves too. But yeah, besides the trombone, you get into the euphonium, right, and the tuba.
Yeah, the euphonium and the tuba. I mean, the tenor tuba, bass tuba, French horn, trumpet, flugelhorn, cornet. Play keyboards. The singing. At one point, I was able to go ahead and play across about 16 different instruments. But as I've gotten older and wiser, thank goodness, I've come to realize that, mastery and the focus behind mastery comes down to just being able to take one and really do it at the highest level you can.
They say genius is focus.
Yeah. It really is. Of course, you all have probably heard the term as well. It's like you're really going to go ahead and develop your skills as a musician. So that you got to spend 10,000 hours.
I've heard that.
The 10,000 hour rule.
It. Yeah.
And,
I'm only up to about 5,000.
Please.
She's got she's halfway there. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Hang
it's
on.
funny.
I'm
It's
just gonna
I
pull.
have a lot of interests. I have a lot of interest. No, it's not. It's true. I love I love my home. I love taking care of my home. I love my family. I love being with my family, taking care of my family. I
Sure.
love cooking. I have a lot of interests. I am not just living jazz 24/7. And
Sure.
sometimes I regret that because I would like to be more seeped in it than I am, but you know,
You're pretty steeped in it though, my dear. Seriously.
thank you.
There's very few people who have the chops that you have, and I mean, I am living witness to having heard it. So it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
You're gonna make me cry because you don't know how bad this day, I needed to hear that. Because I was walking around the house today in one of my mopey, what good are my moods?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, we all go through them, but the truth be told is that Nancy, you are one of the best jazz vocalists in the world, and I've heard a ton of them. I've been around a ton of them. I've had the pleasure and privilege to be able to perform with many, and I mean, when I first heard you, I heard the roots of Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross coming out of you. I heard the roots of
Yeah.
blues coming from you. I heard the roots
Yeah.
of jazz and the elements of it, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, this is one bad lady. This is like
Thank you.
This is the real deal here.
You
man.
know what I struggle with, Ron, is that and I talk about this on the show from time to time because it's what I struggle with. Having a jazz career from Central New York is almost impossible, man.
Yeah.
I have had to work so hard to keep my awareness alive.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm not with the Cats. I would have known you way before this. You and I would have been hanging out faux show.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
There is
Oh, yeah.
no question, because I would have logged on. Yeah, I would have. Of course, you know I work at Birdland. Thank God for Gianni. He always asks me.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
We would have been. I know all the Cats anyway, but I just don't see anybody all the time. It breaks my heart. It's hard, man.
It is
Ron,
hard.
I know.
It is hard.
I mean, Ron, I've appreciated Nancy for close to like 30 years now, and I mean, the first time that I heard Nancy, just like the first time you heard Nancy, I knew I was hearing something special. And the thing about Nancy and the thing about you is you're both great musicians, but more importantly, better people. And I would rather know. I mean, there's a lot of great musicians out there who unfortunately are maybe not the nicest people off the bandstand.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather know like a okay musician, but a really great person. But you and Nancy not only are masters of your craft on the stage and know how to interact and play and just have fun with an audience, but whether I've known somebody for close to 30 years like Nancy or only met you on one occasion until today, I just could sense from the very beginning with Nancy and with you, these are just good people, whether they're holding an instrument on a microphone or not. And
Well, what I have said, and I will say it over and over, and I teach my students this.
Mm-hmm.
I said when you are running into somebody, when you're seeing ego, you're seeing someone who it's not anywhere near their virtuosic peak. Once you become virtuoso, you realize very quickly there is so little you know.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then you become humbled by your gift.
Yeah.
And
true.
It's unbelievable. Then you just don't, yeah.
Well, it's like to
a
me,
thing.
having played with over the last few years in particular, playing with the late great now Jimmy Heath.
Yeah.
Talk about a man who was just so humble, so genuine, so just good.
yeah,
And yet, we're sitting back here and telling stories about when he was hanging out at Train's place, hanging out with John Coltrane, doing practice sessions with him, or back in the days when he was actually, he was there witnessing the advent of bebop, hanging out with just tons of amazing musicians and stories about every one of them.
I mean, it's a history lesson in and of itself just to be around a guy like that. I bet.
Yeah, I remember and it literally is. But he was just so cool. And not to mention, there was another one back in '85. I was in the Air Force Band.
Were you in the Air Force, or when you were in the band, do you have to train and work out and do all the basic training and all that stuff?
Absolutely.
Woo!
Absolutely. But see, I came out of an Army background, so Air Force was easy.
My dad was Air Force too.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, I mean, so it's like that really wasn't that big a deal. But the opportunity that I had with the Air Force band gave me the chance to really work on and hone my chops, especially after going through undergrad school and then uh, getting a chance to go and do a tour with Clark Terry and played with
Yeah,
him.
man.
It's part
Clark
of,
changed a lot of people's careers.
oh, man, I'm
He
telling you
was
what.
he was an real advocate, man.
Oh, huge, huge. I still remember because I was in his college all-star big band with guys like me and Conrad Herwig, Kenny Crane, Matt Finders, who went on. Matt was a West Coast guy who went on afterwards to go and play on the Tonight Show band with Jay Leno.
Yep.
He was doing that gig.
Yep.
But I mean, of course, Branford Marcellus is one of the cats in the band, along with Byron Stripling. I mean, it was like literally. You look at it now, and you see all these players out there and such, and it's like it was a who's who.
Man,
And it's just amazing.
Yeah, but they're all the people that were in the trenches, man. We were in the trenches. We've been doing
Yeah.
this. You don't get to this place without being in the trenches.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about Central Texas, and I'm sorry about Central New York,
yeah.
and not being around, but having to work really hard to maintain and keep the scene working on your part as well as working with others. I experienced the same things down in San Antonio because there's an avid music community down there, but the jazz community is not that big. But because of my time and efforts that I had spent with North Texas, as well as then on CT's band and then the Air Force band, I came out of all that with some chops. And I was doing like Broadway shows back in like the late 80s, playing with big bands, doing recording sessions, doing jingle singing, just a ton of stuff. And it really honed the craft. But we had this tight community, and we still do. I mean, Austin is about maybe a third the size of San Antonio with almost 3 times the scene.
Austin's very hip. My
Oh, yeah.
my son-in-law is a Texan.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
From which part?
Well, Colleen?
Oh, Killeen.
Colleen?
Killeen, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit north of here.
Yes.
A little bit north
But
of
he
here.
went to school in Austin.
Okay. It's an amazing city. I mean, I spent some years here between 2000 and 2012, going back and forth between San Antonio and Austin, literally living in both cities. And, I mean, San Antonio is always going to be home for me, but I love Austin.
Yeah, man. My daughter
awesome.
teases me all the time. She goes, "Mom, they got your kind of guy down here.
Yeah.
He tries to pick up truck, but he's got an Obama sticker on it."
Yeah.
I'm going, yeah.
Yeah. You can find them. You can
What's
find them.
the
It's Austin. You go 10 minutes out of Austin, you better
You better watch yourself.
watch yourself.
You better watch yourself.
Check yourself. So tell me about your singing, Ron. I was very impressed. You do a thing. Tell us about this. Don't you do a thing where you can sing 2 notes at once?
Yeah, throat singing. Throat singing.
There's a name for it. Would you refresh my memory? Do you know?
No. Yeah, no problem. Ever since I was a kid, I'd be jumping up and down the bed going, and my parents would run in and wonder if I was like possessed by Satan or something like that. But I came years later to find out about certain cultures that have been doing this particular style of singing, where you're able to go ahead and either manipulate the vocal cords, or you can manipulate the oral cavity, and you can get 2, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 notes. It's called overtone singing. So for me, whenever I talk to someone who wants to try and do this one, it's a pretty easy process. I tell them to take the tip of the tongue and put it right near the edge of their teeth where the gums are, and shape an U with your mouth. And when you sing, keep the tip of the tongue anchored, but move the center of your tongue up and down. And all of a sudden you'll get overtones.
That's amazing, man. I'm gonna play with that later.
Please. By all means. By all means. Who freaked me out with that too was because I did it the first time when I was in Syracuse. I'm working with Ronnie Lee. And Ronnie starts pulling that stuff out, and I'm going, oh, you are a bad man.
I didn't know he did that. I've never heard him do that.
No,
we were getting into this whole thing at one point where we were going back and forth scatting. It's like, and he started pulling some of that back on me, and it's like, oh man, I got another brother right here. We're gonna get stupid. We're gonna get absolutely stupid. And
But doesn't the audience, that was one of the things, another one of the things that really drew me to you is that you and I share a love for entertaining.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And that love, you learned that love from working with the old cats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cats, man. There's a whole bunch of new jazz people that kind of stick their nose up at that. They think that that turning your back like Miles did is like, no, man. People need you. They want a piece of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is that when I was growing up, and I would go ahead and check out Nat King Cole. I used to watch the Nat King Cole show when I was a kid. And I thought, here was this guy who was one of the most engaging people, who was also this phenomenal singer. And it wasn't until years later that I found out he was one of the baddest piano cats around.
Bad isn't even the word for it, man.
No, never got the credit he deserved as a pianist. Yeah.
No, it's phenomenal because, but the thing was that he was eloquent, he was refined, he was well spoken, he was able to communicate and such. I mean, both my dad and my mom loved Nat King Cole, and I thought he was like one of the swingingest dudes alive. Still to this day. I mean, listening, working on tunes like Aaron Boy for Rhythm, or oh my gosh, Frim Fram Sauce. Yeah, tunes like that. I mean, it's just. I love the novelty tunes. In fact, I've got a new album that's going to be coming out later this summer called Ron Wilkins, Trombocalist.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you.
Vocalist.
I love it.
Vocalist. You, Eric and Nancy, you guys will be getting a copy. Ronnie will too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We'll be looking forward. We'll be looking forward. Would you I see that trombone sitting there, and I'm getting very anxious to hear it. How was your embouchure, man? When you, after being away from it so long, did it take a little?
It took a little bit of time to get back. But the one cool thing is that when I've taken breaks in the past, although I've never taken a forced break like this one because I was off the horn for 3 months. When I've taken breaks in the past and come back to the instrument again, it's actually helped to go ahead and maybe eliminate some of the bad habits. So, now it's like my tone is back. My technique is still coming along, but, it's to me, it's like, it's learning how to use my left arm again, because there's that stretch of time where you play an instrument for so long, it becomes a part of you. And literally it's like, I'll take Clark Terry's words because these are probably the most accurate way I can describe it. You play what you sing and you sing what you play. And to me, it's like whether I was singing it through my vocal cords or my voice or playing it through my instrument, it's the same thing. I'm thinking along those same lines. So now I'm just getting this side of it with I'm used to playing the horn and holding the horn, getting that back to what I'm used to with my voice. And in fact, I'm looking at probably within the next week or two, getting in some lessons with a couple of very fine vocal coaches up in New York. Nancy, if you're available, I need to talk to you about that. I'd like to get into some voice time with you. Seriously.
He charges a lot, Ron. I don't know if you
jeez. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay what I can.
She'll give you a good discount. Trust me now.
I appreciate that.
Just talk to me. I have my focus is on speech singing, conversational singing. So there's a significant difference between classical placement and jazz placement.
Oh yes.
So we're just all right here all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas back here, as opposed to like two completely different sounds.
Oh, absolutely. And I took classical voice lessons when I was back in undergrad at North Texas, and I was shocked at the difference.
Well, it's different to the break. Past the break, whether it's male or female, past the break, your placements are going to be the similar. The only difference is we hold back on the vibrato.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're trying to tell a story. If you got vibrato in there, you can't. I remember being at a Broadway show, and the lead soprano had so much vibrato that they had to put up on a readout of what she was singing about. Because you couldn't even. I said, what the hell is all that?
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's talking about how her cat ran off. And now she's alone.
Imagine, you got like a digital readout.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Come on, man. What's wrong with this picture? They need me. In fact, one of the stars of that show studied with me when she came through. But would you do us the honor of picking up that horn and blowing a little something for us?
Yeah. Fortunately for you, I warmed up earlier.
Yeah, I did too.
Actually, I'm getting ready to. Because I've got the teaching gig now. Down here in Texas, we have this thing, part of the University Interscholastic League, where students who are involved in band and choir and orchestra can audition for a spot in the all-state ensembles. And every February, the Texas Music Educators Convention, which has now become the second largest music trade show in the country,
Ooh.
will have they'll showcase the all-state bands, the all-state orchestras, the all-state jazz ensembles. The one thing that they don't have, and I'm going to, now that I've been back in teaching in college, is something I'm going to push for. They don't have an all-state jazz choir. And to me,
Now that's a whole. I can tell you. One time SU asked me to come up and lead their. A teaching choir is a whole other box of tools, man.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I've been put in that situation at times too, where I've been a choir teacher, but more so working with students on being able to sing in a choir and getting them to understand at times how to be able to sing with a straight tone, to be able to bring out the lyric as well as the harmony.
That's what my expertise is.
Yeah.
I work on jazz technique before we ever talk about improvisation.
Sure. And I think I think it's important to be able to get that, to understand that, because each voice, just like each instrument, tends to come off differently, and you have to be able to appreciate that instrument, but it's knowing the ins and outs of it.
Well, and plus I'm hearing now, when I hear, and I'm not going to name any names, but all of the girls that are getting attention, I don't hear anyone that has the tone that I think is representative of a real jazz tone. I hear a lot of head tones and a lot of
a lot of head and a lot of
airy,
airy,
very nasal almost. It's weird, but
I think it's in part because of the fact that a lot of these younger singers in particular have been listening to a lot of popular and R&B and soul artists who sing that way.
That's the first question I ask them when they walk in the door. Who are you listening to?
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Who are you listening to? Because I need to know what kind of animal I got on my hands.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's like I've as many master classes as I've been fortunate enough to do over the years, I tell them all the same thing. If you don't have at least 10 recordings of a person who plays or sings the way that you're an instrument in jazz, then you're not getting a full education out of this.
Very well said.
It's like, once again, going back to the organ thing. If you don't have at least 5 or 6 recordings of a Jimmy Smith or a Richard Groove Holmes or a Joey DeFrancesco or a Shirley Scott, if you don't at least have those, how will you know what it's supposed to sound like? If you don't have a recording, if you're a vocalist and you really want to go ahead and study and say, you're young and you're talented, and I'm going to go for the Sarah Vaughan competition, but you've never listened to Sarah Vaughan. Yeah.
Well, we know somebody that won that, but we won't,
Well, that is what it is.
The commercial, I tell my kids all the time, I say, commercial success is a whole other world.
Yeah, yep. Very much.
It's a whole other world. But anyway, I don't want to talk about me and all that junk. I want to talk about you. I want to play your horn, man.
I'll tell you what, I'll blow.
Somebody wants me to play trombone. You happen to know that that I play trombone.
But Nancy can play. I mean, Nancy does play trombone a little bit with her voice.
The sound that I make when I do it relies on having a microphone and using some pressure.
Oh yeah.
But that whole, but
yeah, but you know what though? When we were doing that gig there in Syracuse and you pulled some of that out, one of the first things that came to my mind was, you've listened to the Mills Brothers. Remember those cats?
Yeah.
Because they would pull out the vocal harmonies and such, but they do it sounding like instruments.
Oh,
and I remember my dad loved the Mills Brothers, and he was like all into them as well. And I'd hear these guys going,
yeah, you almost got it.
That's why I need lessons, Nancy.
I can't teach that. Ronnie does that better than me.
Oh well, Ronnie.
They're the two best vocal. The two best vocal instrumentalists that I know, Ronnie and Nancy, who can just turn their voice into a trombone, and it's
marvelous.
Yeah.
One of the other guys who was a big influence for me growing up, especially in the late 70s and early 80s, was Al Jarreau.
Al Jarreau's the cat, man. When I heard Al Jarreau, the world stopped for me.
Yeah, ditto. The
world stopped.
The album that he did over in Europe, where I think the album was "Look to the Rainbow" or something like that. but it was this live concert that he did, and he's up here and he's imitating a flute, and I'd never heard a voice
I do it all the time.
that could sound like this. You're
Wow.
killing me. You're
But
killing
I
me.
stole it from him. I can't own that, man.
No, I
that
believe
cat
you.
came up with it, and then and then Bobby McFerrin. I mean, he does all that stuff, but but the trouble with Bobby for me is that after I've heard 10 minutes of it, I'm going, okay, I get this. But with Al, man,
Yeah.
Al goes, he will take you on a journey. Like,
yeah.
he just doesn't put all the, here's my ham sandwich, here's my tuna sandwich, like,
Well, and I can appreciate what you're saying, but to me, it's like Bobby takes me on a ride every time.
oh yeah, it's great.
Every time.
But but I'm saying Al there was a depth of emotion there that you can't. That's the difference between a great player and a good player.
Yeah.
A great player has all the chops and the depth of emotion.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. There's something a lot to be said for that. And speaking of, I'll go ahead and play a little tune now and send it out to my peeps.
My dear, we're having so much fun yakking here.
Yeah,
Please
it's all
do.
good. It's all
Right.
good.
Ron Wilkins.
One of my favorites from the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This is Pure Imagination.
Oh,
One of my faves.
I love that tune.
oh my gosh! Look at you singing that minor against that. Yeah, man.
Thanks. Thank you. And now for my next trick, I need volunteer.
That was delightful. Oh my gosh!
Thank you.
Nancy and I looked at each other a few times, and
This one, you'll see it. You'll see the playback. This.
oh yeah, there was
Yeah.
some. Man, that was.
I feel all.
Aw, yay.
I'm
Glad to help.
telling you,
But
are
I
a.
mean, the thing too has got me is that from hanging out with guys like Master Heath and Lou Donaldson, among
Papa
others,
Lou.
it's no kidding, man. If you're really gonna say something on the instrument, you have to learn how to be able to do it without any other instruments. Sure. One of the things that makes us so unique in music is that we are all a part of an interactive group. Anytime we get together for a session or a jam or a hang like that, it's like, yeah, man, you bring this to the party, you bring that to the party. I got the coleslaw here, I got the barbecue ribs here, I got the pork and beans here, I got some sausage. My Texas roots talking.
Yeah, but I'm hungry.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah,
Ditto.
I'm ready for a full meal right now.
Yeah, baby, I can dig it. I can dig it.
Oh man,
And that's the thing. I mean, to me, it's like you can do all those things, but if you really are trying to go ahead and develop a level of mastery, you got to be able to at least hear yourself at it, and you got to be able.
Well,
to
yeah, it's hard because a trombone is most commonly a section instrument. I mean, that's where you hear it the most.
Sure. Sure.
So it's hard for me to sing alone, though. I really love the input of what the others have to say.
I can appreciate that. I can, but the other side of it is that there's a stretch of time when I was an undergrad for a summer where I spent 8 hours a day practicing for about 3 months. just to really get through the point of understanding the ABCs of it all. And it came down to at times just being able to go outside and just play. I just let it play or sing to nature. So when I'm going over here and people will come to me occasionally and say, Ron, you're such an accomplished musician. Can you sing like Route 66 or something like that? It's like, sure. It's like, well, do you need any other musicians to do it? It's like, no, I think I got it down by now. Or at least I understand it. So if I'm going to go through it, I'm thinking, if you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Stuff like that. It's like, it's second nature. I mean, I understand what it takes to do it because I remember back years ago how hard it was to do this. But I always wanted to be able to work on stuff like that. And I listened to soloists at times like Sonny Rollins, just doing like a little solo thing where he'd be playing with the band, and all of a sudden he'd break into a cadenza. And he would like literally not only throw out quotes from different songs and such, but he'd just be playing these ideas that were just continually cycling.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah.
And to me, it's like, man, I want to get to be able to, I can do that. I want to be able to get to the point where if I'm working with an orchestra or I'm working with a quintet or I'm working with I'm doing a solo gig, I want my voice to be able to be heard the same. And I think that's important. It's so important. But the other thing too is that I had really good teachers when I was growing up who came to realize with my talent that, we can show you these things and show you how to do it correctly, but you're going to probably figure this stuff out. So,
And
well, yeah, they open a few doors and then we just start walking through.
Exactly.
We just start walking through, man. I mean, I found everything. I found everybody and I found everything all on my own. You know what I mean? I got turned on to the basics in the beginning and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but before we go, because we've really gone a long, an enjoyably long time, I might say.
I just want to piggyback one other thing in terms of music as a whole, and I think you both can speak to this. I'm the only non-music educator of the three of us, but I grew up the son of a musician. Happy to say he's still playing, and have been surrounded by this music my whole life. Is that through all of your teachers that you've both had, and through all of the teaching that you've both done, it's like you never ever stop learning.
No.
Music, and there's always more to discover, and there's always new possibilities. I'm sure you would both agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. For me, back in '85, I was mentioning about the time when I was in the Air Force band, I was playing with Dizzy Gillespie. And I sat down with him along with a few of the other guys in the band. We're asking him questions, and I'm asking him about music because, this is the father of bebop I'm talking to.
Hello.
And I'm asking him about, the history and legacy. And he brought up this one point, and he said, basically, I could live to be as old as Methuselah and still not know everything I need to know about music. Right. And I took that to heart because once again, it's like Nancy, we were saying earlier, you develop a level of virtuosity and mastery, and then you come to realize as much as you don't know squat.
That's the thing.
And
that's searching.
Yeah, and that's the humility aspect of it. But it also, to me, it leads me to these moments of wonder, because my goals at this point haven't really changed as much. But now that I've been through everything with COVID to a point, I still want to get over to India. I want to hang out there for a month and study with some masters, study ragas. I want to be able to get back over to Europe again, hang out with, go to Austria, hang out in Mozart's place, study more Bach. I still want to be able to go over to Africa and study the music of the different cultures, the different influences. What made blues and jazz the way it happened? Okay, we know about field hollers and slave songs and shouts, but let's talk about the stuff that happened before that.
Well, the rhythms, the drums,
The rhythms.
But almost a lot of the cultures brought rhythmic stuff. It's interesting.
Sure.
I love how Scott Joplin, his influence from John Philip Sousa is astounding.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's amazing, and I love teaching. I love showing my kids that. I said you need to understand how American music was formed.
Well,
You
I
know,
was I was teaching a class. Actually, I was subbing for one of the instructors for this class a few years ago at a junior college, and there's a music appreciation class, and he was talking about the history of hip hop. So we got into it, and I made sure I spent a little bit of time, about a good 3 or 4 weeks of just research before I went into the class, just studying about how the music evolved. So I'd get to the point where at one point I'm over here and I'm talking to these students and I'm bringing to them about, hip hop artists of the day, like at that time, Tupac, or NWA or other artists of that era. But I said, but they all stemmed back from the 70s. I mean, you talk about the music of hip hop coming from Brooklyn, being incorporated with the boogaloo. And then you start talking about the Latin influences of the boogaloo, along with, of course, the rhythmic pulsation and how that melted together with American music. It's like if you're sitting here and you listen to somebody who's rapping, they're going, I could do the same thing and have this rhythm going from and turn it around and go.
yeah. Turn it into
Yeah, you can incorporate all these other
It's
rhythms
all in
around
there,
it.
man. It's
It's
all
all
in
in
there.
there.
It's all
It's all in there.
interconnected somehow.
It's
Yeah.
all in there. Yeah, I've learned a lot from listening to some of those the originators of hip hop. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's gone now. Now we got a lot of kids making music that just use computers. They really don't know. I heard something came on. I had Pandora, streaming, and
Sure.
I must have heard 6 songs that made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm one of these beasts who likes to keep current. I like to go ahead and study modern songs and modern music. I mean, people ask me about, well, who's your favorite artist? And I'm like,
What day?
what? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What day? What
Yeah.
time period?
Yeah.
You know.
But before we go, and before we go, I do want to have you. I want to go back, and I want to close the show because I want people to understand how serious this COVID thing is, and and if you could give us a timeline of what happened to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just to don't doesn't have to be a long one, but just
No,
a brief, like you left. What do you think? Where do you think it attached itself to you?
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, I left New York in early March to play the show Aladdin. I spent, after it closed down after 2 days, I spent the rest of that first week of March here in Austin, and then went down to San Antonio for the rest of the month to visit with my mom. And it was there I got it.
What was the time? Oh, in
It was
San Antonio is
in
where
San
you
Antonio
got
is
it.
where I got it. It was around mid-March.
Oh, and then isn't that serendipitous? I mean, here you are coming from New York, which was the epicenter.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
escape it. Yeah.
To escape it, and then I ended up getting it. By early April, around April the 3rd or 4th, my older brother came into the house to check in on my mom and went back to the bedroom to talk to me, and I was unconscious.
What were your symptoms? Tell us what you
Well,
felt.
that's the crazy thing, because at the time when I was starting to feel this thing, the oak pollen in particular in South Texas was at an all-time high, and I'm horribly allergic to that stuff.
Yeah.
Between that and mountain cedar, so I was dealing with at times a little bit of fever. It didn't seem that hard. I mean, I didn't really have a dry cough, but I was noticing that I was feeling more listless and would tire out easily. And I figured it was just attributed to the fact that, basically at that time, the oak pollen was around 39,000 parts per cubic meter, which is just ungodly high. So I figured that was messing with me, and I was getting pollen type of fever symptoms like that. But when they rushed me to the hospital and they diagnosed me about a day later with COVID, next thing you know, I'm in a medically induced coma for 32 days.
Now, why did they decide to do that? Will you tell us? Do you know about their decision?
I think it was because they did the research and they did blood tests on me and such, and they discovered that I had the COVID virus in my system. But also,
Why did they put people in a coma?
well, basically they do that so they can go ahead and give the body an opportunity to start healing.
heal?
But they also have to do these procedures like put you on a ventilator. which could mess you up, to a point if you're on it for a certain amount of time.
So are you intubated? Like, are they
I
messing
was.
around near your
They
vocal
put the
cords,
tube.
man, and all
They
that?
put the tube there. They had the trach tube here. I was
Oh, baby.
intubated. It didn't. Fortunately, the trach tube was like further down below my vocal cords,
Yeah.
so that didn't really affect the voice. Thank goodness. But I was in a coma for 32 days.
32 days.
Yeah.
So they wake you up, they decide that you're healing,
Yeah. Well, I
and they
mean, it's
wake you
like
up.
literally at one of those days near the end of the time before I came out of it, I was dying. I was literally dying, and I think the one thing that kept me going through all that was the fact that there was this indomitable will that I had that I was not going to go. It wasn't my time,
No.
and I fought like hell. I really did. So when I came out of it, I'm talking to my friend and partner Becca, and just saying along the lines of, okay, I really couldn't talk, but I could try to like figure things out, and the nurses were there to help me. So I'm saying, okay, I'm thinking it's still April, and I need to get my taxes done. And
Uh,
she's saying, no, babe, you've been out for a month, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It did, because I thought I was unconscious for about a week, and there's I still have some issues at times connecting the dots, but I'm going through therapy on that, and that's helping.
you should. You
Yeah,
should
definitely.
work through it, man, because that's
Yeah.
a trauma. That's a trauma not only to your body, but to your spirit.
Oh yeah, and I came to realize that. But after I came out of it, I spent one more week there at the critical care unit at Northeast Baptist, where the doctors, and in particular my doctor, Dr. Tamara Simpson, who's also a huge music head, she was wonderful, along with the nurses there and the aides. They shipped me over from there to this PAM specialty hospital that was located just north of San Antonio, New Braunfels, Texas, where I went on, continued my treatment, and I started getting into occupational and physical therapy so I could learn how to walk and talk and move again, because I literally was immobile for 32 days, actually for about 37 days. And I came off the ventilator, but fortunately, because of all these decades of being a low brasser and playing the instruments as
Your
well as being
lungs
able
were
to
in
use
good shape.
breathing tools and such,
Yeah.
my lungs came back like mad.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I was going to be okay. In
Isn't
fact,
that a moment of bliss?
yes, I told the folks there, it's like, you're bringing me in a wheelchair. I'm going to walk out of this place.
And you
And
did.
literally
Saw the
six
pictures.
weeks later, I walked out of it.
Amen.
And I'm
So-
like, woo!
Man.
So, and then I spent one more week of intense occupational and physical therapy, 3 hours a day, every day at the Warm Springs Rehabilitation Hospital in Kyle, Texas, just south of Austin. When I came out from that, it's been like I've been out of the hospital now for almost a month as of this coming Tuesday, and I'm better. I'm stronger. I'm getting more coordination together. I'm practicing my horns and singing and working all of my
You
stuff.
sound great, man. Your tone's
Thanks.
great.
Thanks. Thank you.
I can only imagine that throughout this whole ordeal, and this nightmare, what it must have been like for Rebecca too. I mean, just
she's been a trooper. She's been a real trooper on
but
it.
just
In fact,
thinking that she may lose her partner, and then seeing you fight through this, and I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that you probably love her more than ever before, because obviously she was with you every step of the way, even though for 32 days, you had no communication with her when you were in the medically induced coma. But I know that you were indebted for her to
hugely.
always be
hugely.
by your side. Yeah.
She's one of the truest, great, the dearest friends and loves of life that I've ever had. In fact, she, along with another one of my former voice students, put together a fundraiser for me that it's helping. But the other side of this too is having to pay the bills, especially with the stuff being in the hospital so long. So I
Were
let
you
people
able
know.
to pick up any of the unemployment? New York State was pretty good. I was too.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh,
getting a
yeah.
little worried though between you and I, Ron, because it's going to end pretty soon, and I don't have any gigs, and I've lost a lot of students, and quite honestly, I'm a little concerned.
No, and I think we all are, honestly.
You know?
But this fundraiser that my dears put together for me, it's called Ron's Road to Recovery.
Yes, man. Where
And
is it?
It's use ronsroadtorovery.com. You can go online, and people have contributed, but I mean, I'm getting the bills in every day, and
No, you can. The good news is you can let them go right now, because they'll they'll let you ride for a minute, but it's still gonna.
No.
I got a kick out of one company. I asked him. I said, "Well, if I don't pay, what happens?" Well, you don't have to pay, but the interest will still occur. I'm going. Oh, great!
Lovely. Yeah, no kidding.
You guys are really helping us out here.
Yeah, right. Right. What a boon. You see, and in part because of that too, I feel for a lot of my friends who are back in the city because they haven't been given rent forgiveness. They've said that you have up until August 20th, and then, we got to
Where are
start
you going to
charging
come
rent
up with $7,000 or $8,000?
or more.
Where
or
are you going to
more.
come up with that? We're
It's-
musicians, for God's
Yeah,
sakes.
exactly. But I know a lot of cats who, by the time we get to that point in August, they're going to be moving out of the city
Yeah.
because they can't
They're
afford to stay
leaving
there.
now. Everybody's
Oh,
leaving.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And here we are. Here we are, Ron, doing God's work, for God's sakes, and it's just unbelievable. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? This is just.
I hear you.
Well,
Well,
Do what we got to
let's-
do. But listen, I'm going to take a moment here real quick because I know we're near the end of this. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Eric, for the opportunity to come on here and hang with like jazz cats. Because
And that feel good. You're gonna feel like you did a gig, man. You're gonna
yeah.
have that good, yummy feeling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, it's like the last 2 weeks in particular, I've been doing these like little online podcasts with like trombonists. And I'm like, all the other stuff, like the interviews and all this other stuff with the radio and TV stations and all, that's all well and good. It gets the message across. But when I'm hanging with my peeps, that's
There's
when it
nothing
gets good.
like it. There's
That's
nothing
when it
like
gets
it.
good.
There's nothing like it.
Absolutely.
And the nice thing about our shows is they stay up live. So I don't think we particularly had a large room full tonight, but you will get a lot of views. People will come back and view it when they come back in. It's a wonderful thing, and you have shared probably one of the most important messages that I think that Eric and I have brought to anyone yet. And we're very grateful to you, and we're very grateful
Thank you.
that you had the will to live, because we need you, Ron Wilkins.
Hey, listen, I am so grateful and filled with gratitude to still be here because I know I got more to do.
you do.
I got more to do. I got more music to make. I got more people to see. I got more influences. I got more hang time coming. And I'm definitely going to get my happy butt back up to Syracuse and hang out with you.
Well, I'll see you before. I don't know, but who knows? I don't know if I'll ever get back to New York. I worried about. I just lost I had a gig at Birdland. It would have gone. And Johnny said to me, he says, "Well, we don't even know when we're going to open. We will we'll rebook everyone, but we don't even know when that's going to happen, man."
Yeah, maybe January, maybe. Although, New York has taken more of the precautions now to where they have fewer cases. Like you said earlier, they didn't have any cases in the last day. So things could be opening up again. But once again, they're not going to open up right away like they used to.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Slow.
It's not going to happen. I mean,
But we're in good places. You're in a good place right now. You got a job to look forward to, teaching at a wonderful university. You get your health back. I'm all right here. I'm safe in my little house on the lake.
Yeah.
And Eric is happy as a little duck sitting in his apartment, having his shows every week.
Well, I enjoy this. Nancy and I have had some wonderful guests, but this one, I was so looking forward to this because, again, you were going to talk about, you're the first person we've spoken with who obviously has lived through COVID and been able to come out the other side and be able to reflect back on this is no joke.
I think that's the message that we want to get across, and for people who rewatch this show.
And I've actually said that in interviews as well. It's like just letting people know this is no joke. This is not about politics.
No.
This is about life and death. And it really comes down to us coming together, not only as Americans, but also as a people overall, as a global community. And let's do what we can do to work with the scientists, to work with our doctors and nurses, and to make sure that we can eliminate the spread of this thing. Because it's going to be around for a long time.
That's
and the more we can do to slow the spread and eventually allow our scientific community to come up with a proper vaccine, the better. But until then, if we're still going to run around and just figure that, I can't breathe with a mask or it's my right not to wear a mask, then this thing's going to keep spreading. It's
I
going to
mean,
keep spreading.
when you think about the amount of PPE hospital workers have to wear
Oh yeah.
for literally 12-hour shifts. I mean, you know what? Can we wear a mask for 15, 20 minutes if we go to the grocery store? I mean, when you look at
Sure.
how long these frontline workers have to wear all this protection, I mean, and again, let's not do it just for ourselves. Do it for our friends, our family, our grandparents. You know, think about other
Exactly.
people.
Do it for
Exactly.
our country. Let's get out of
For
this.
our
We don't.
country.
Our borders are closed. We
Yeah.
can't go anywhere. So we need to change this one person at a time.
Oh yeah, and even if you
Right.
even if you're traveling in the country, now they have it set up. If I wanted to go back to New York again, I'd have to go into a 14-day
Yeah,
quarantine because
yeah,
I'm coming
yeah,
from
yeah,
Texas.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can't come from Florida to New York.
Oh no,
You cannot do that.
no,
So you're
no.
going to be in Austin for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, the rest of the year and probably the next year or so after
Yeah.
that as well. You know, I'm going to be working it. I'm going to be working the scene
Well,
here. I'm going to be doing as what I can and teaching at the university
But
level. And
the networking you did in New York, and you're living in New York, and I had the same experience, and I'm grateful for it.
sure.
You're going to get calls, man. When it opens up, you're going to get calls to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not worried about that. In fact, I was talking with the guy who's the director of the Birdland Big Band because I was playing with them for the last 2 years
I know.
every Friday. And he's even saying that, you know, hopefully by the time we get to the New Year's Eve, we usually have 1 week around New Year's Eve through that first week of January where the band has every night in Birdland. And then we do it again in August. Well, the August dates, it's gone. But
Yeah.
it looks like we might be able to do the one in like late December, if not through January.
Well-
And I can't wait to get back.
I know Gianni told me I have charts. But
Yeah.
he told me, he says, well, you know, maybe we do one. I don't know. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I'll
Oh,
tell
yeah.
you what, people should go to ronsroadtorecovery.com
Yeah. Please.
and
Every little bit helps.
help Ron out. If you want to check out his website, we didn't get into. We name dropped a few of the players that Ron has played with, but I'm telling you what, go to ronwilkins.net and you'll get a chance to see an unbelievable list of artists that you have performed with, big bands. Of course, you got the Birdland Big Band, the Dizzy
Yeah.
Big Band, the band with Rebecca, all the collegiate ensembles you've played with. This man's resume is endless, and so people can check that out at ronwilkins.net, and also please go to ronsroadtorecovery.com. And let's hope that when this is all somehow behind us, maybe Nancy and I take a trip to Austin next year. Since Ron's come to us, how about this?
You're
Nancy,
driving.
you and I go to Austin.
Wow.
How about we? How about,
Listen,
and Ron will know I've done my homework here. How about we all hang at the Elephant Room?
Yeah, man. Listen, I can get us a gig there.
Can you?
Yeah, I'm in.
I can get us a gig at the Elephant Room. There's also this other club here in town that did
Parker's?
a wonderful job. Parker's Jazz.
Yeah, see,
Yes.
I did my Austin Jazz
Yeah.
Club homework.
See,
Okay.
there's
You
a
oughta do
reason
it.
I got a great journalist working here with me.
No, listen, we could do those. We can easily do those. I just need to make sure that once everything is cleared out and we're back to it again, just to give the guys enough notice because I would love to have y'all down. If nothing else, I hope you can handle barbecue.
Oh, what?
Uh,
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not
mean,
kidding you.
the-
I'm not kidding you at all. We get stupid on that stuff.
we, we can both handle barbecue, and as somebody that's never been to Texas, I've never really experienced Texas barbecue. So you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to give me. I know you're a jazz educator, but are you a rib educator too?
I would be remiss if I were ribbing you.
Oh no!
Very nice.
Listen,
Very nice.
there's at least about 10 places that come to my mind right off the top that I will be more than happy to get you guys into.
Well,
It's so funny.
We will
man.
get messed up on barbecue.
My son-in-law, like I said, is from Texas, so he's into, like, you know, all the whole cuisine.
Oh yeah.
I made some fresh pico de gallo the other day, and he's like telling me, yes, I can taste the cilantro and I can taste it. I'm going, man, I am never gonna make barbecue for him because I'll be in deep sneakers, man.
I'm telling you. I mean, I recently had this conversation / discussion / kind of argument with some cats talking about the difference between Texas barbecue, Memphis barbecue,
Oh.
North Carolina, South Carolina,
Kansas City's got some
Kansas
good
City.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got into this whole discussion. It was on one of these trombone podcasts,
Yeah.
and the guys are saying, "Man, this has been so much fun. We just need to do it in the podcast with you back on it, just talking about barbecue."
Oh, well, we all love our food. I think that
Absolutely.
cooking is a creative act, just like music and creating
absolutely.
music. So most of us do cook. Most of us
Yeah.
do that create.
And I love it. I absolutely
Well,
love it.
I think we've covered many
have.
beautiful subjects and with many beautiful moments.
My goodness.
We thank you from the bottom of our hearts up here in
Thank
Upstate
you.
New York.
Truly do, and love the fact that you're representing your hometown Spurs.
Go Spurs, go!
Yeah,
Woo!
I know.
Woo!
I don't know if Tim Duncan was tuning in tonight, but he can watch it on the replay. You know.
I actually got to meet him back in the day when I was doing Starbucks. He came into a Starbucks one time in San Antonio, and it's obvious when this guy walks in, he's not only the tallest guy in the house, but
Yeah.
but he's a nicest guy, guy. And I've been very fortunate too. Some of the gigs I've had where I played these sports banquets, I've got to meet guys like Charles Barkley,
Ooh.
and of course the Admiral David Robinson, among
yeah.
others.
Yeah.
And it was just like, these are regular cats just like us, except for the fact is that what we do with music, they do with athletic ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
they have a gift, and
Oh yeah.
and you have a gift. Nancy has a gift, and this
You got a gift too, Eric. I'm telling
Yeah,
you,
he does.
you work this room.
I
You work
like-
this
Doesn't he
room.
do well? He's.
I blame your father.
yes. Yeah. I blame him too, but
There you go.
I'm gonna go get me some supper.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna
I'd
gotta
like
get
to
some
go
of that
get some
myself.
barbecue right now, but
I know it.
I would love for you guys to come down. I wish we could go ahead and do this online, but it just wouldn't look good with me having rib juice slobbered all over me.
Yeah, it
going, you should
would.
try this.
oh man,
It's just not fair.
Well, stay
Hey,
healthy.
there used to be a
Stay in
song.
the music, man. Stay in the
Always.
music.
You too.
Jack McDuff used to have a song called Hot. I think he did a song called Hot Barbecue.
Yeah, man. I got the recording. Hot
do?
barbecue. Love
That's
that
it.
tune.
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it. That's he was right.
He was.
he was right.
All right. I'll plug the website one last time. Ron'sRoadToRecovery.com. Help Ron out. And
Appreciate it. Thank
also
you.
RonWilkins.net. And again, Nance.
I'll be using the website as well to go ahead and post about the new album
Oh,
coming
God,
out.
this made my day. I don't even care if you were lying. It made my day.
The album.
What's up?
The album is called. The album coming out. It'll be called Trombocalist.
Yeah, Ron Wilkins, trombocalist. It'll be out probably about, if not mid, then by the end of April. It'll be available on the streaming sites between Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora,
All right.
and I'll also have. I'm working with this really great label out of New York called Outside in Music (OIM), which has a lot of really fine musicians on it, and they've got some connections going, so I'll be able to work with them as well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right.
You
Gotta keep my New
deserve
York-
it. You
keep my New
deserve
York
it,
connects
Ron.
going.
Yeah. Well,
You
hey,
Thank you,
deserve it.
viewers.
Nance. Next time the three of us hang, let's do it in person, okay?
Absolutely.
I would
This,
love it.
this has been very uplifting. Thank
It
you,
has.
Ron.
Very
Thank you. Thank
Ron,
you,
be
guys.
well, stay safe. Regards to Becca, and just so happy that you were able to join us, and
What an
we
honor.
loved- It was an honor for us, and
Thank you.
thanks again, and again, thanks for everybody for joining us. We'll be back next week. You can watch this on replay if you go to our YouTube channel, Time Out with Eric Cohen and
Yeah, we're up all over the place. So
Nancy Kelly, and we'll be looking out for Ron Wilkins, Trombocalist, coming out in the coming months. Stay safe, my friend.
I feel beautiful. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Thank
Ron.
you.
Love you.
Take care.
Thank you. Love you
Love
guys.
to you. Love to you and your family.
All right.
Thank
Love you,
you.
Nance. You're a beast.
Love you. I'm a beast.